Hi, and welcome to this new video. So I'm an English teacher, that's my job, and I was in one of my lessons this week, and I was probably doing what I shouldn't do. I was explaining some of this stuff to my students. I was saying about how you're not the objective world, and you're not the body or the mind. And one student, 15-year-old kid, said, "So, are you telling me I'm not a person, I'm a thing?" And I said to him, No, you're not a thing either, because things are in the objective world and you are the eternal subject." And I realized that I was probably wasting time. There's no way we'd be able to explain all that inside an English class. And anyway, I was wasting time because we should have been doing the book instead of discussing philosophy. But anyway, so I thought I would maybe make a video about this, about the eternal subject. I was watching some videos by Brad Warner, who I'm binge watching all his videos at the moment. I think he's really good. He seems very authentic, and I think his style is designed to put people off so that they stop watching. And if you give it time, you'll realize that he's actually incredibly knowledgeable and with a very long practice of these things. Anyway, so somebody asked him a question about death, and he directed them for some reason to a Alan Watts video, which is surprising because Alan Watts is quite, hippie, from the 60s, and promoting psychedelic use, and Brad Warner's against the use of drugs and to attain these things. But anyway, so I watched the video and I thought it was there was something that I really liked about it first time I listened. So I only listened once, but I reflect on it later. The first time when I heard it, the first thing that came to my mind, his explanation was kind of based in materialism. Not really, but he said that we don't know. After we die, we imagine that there will be nothingness. So there will be just this blackness. But he said that it's not nothingness like blackness. He said it's nothingness like the back of your head. So you can't see the back of your head, and it is, but it's not black. It's not like you've got this black space at the back of your head. It's something that's just not there. And I think, so this is how he explained what death might be like. And he said that if we are here now, this thing happened, why would it not happen again? It happened once, it might happen again. And that was the thing that I took away from it. And I thought it was good. It was, I don't really think like that. I more think that probably after death there's a continuity of consciousness, and I don't know, but I don't really, putting it like that, kind of put it like a materialist might want to hear it, that there will be nothing, but it won't be nothing like blackness. It'll be nothing like the back of your head. Now, I was thinking about this yesterday, and the way he points to it, he says that if you trace the edge of your vision, so I can see, I'm moving my finger around the edge of my vision. It's up to here, it's down there. And then all the rest is nothing. Back here is nothing. Now, it's not nothing like blackness. It's just nothing like, and if you reflect on that, I was reflecting on that nothing. And it really hits me quite profoundly, what this nothing is like, because we do normally imagine nothing is blackness. Now, this is talking about it from a physical, a visual sense, but we can apply it to other senses too. But first, I'll say that it also occurred to me that not only is the back of my head this nothingness, but behind the sofa is this same nothingness. So, but this is within vision. Now, if we look at our other senses, so we've got hearing, taste, touch, smell. If we could apply it in the same way, but it's more difficult. So, for example, with sound, we imagine sound and there's noise, and then when the noise stops, there's silence. Now, that silence is a bit like blackness. So, but it's the absence of sound, which is not silence, because silence is a kind of sound. It's something that you are aware of through your ears. It's silence is sound in the way that blackness is vision. If all this became black, you would still be seeing something. You'd be seeing blackness. If noise went completely quiet, you'd still be hearing something. You'd be hearing just silence, but it would be something you'd be hearing. But how can we do the same thing with sound that we do more easily with vision? So it's very easy to say, I can't see the back of my head, but it's not blackness. It's just this unusual, if you reflect on it, well, I encourage you to try what this nothingness is, because it's completely different nothingness to what we normally imagine nothingness to be. So behind your sofa, even behind the door and behind the walls in other rooms, it's the same. This type of nothingness is everywhere and makes up most of the world to us. Now, with sound, it occurred to me that maybe this is why we have the idea of there's a koan. So these koans, if you don't know, they're Zen sayings that are supposed to give you and lead you to enlightenment. And they're non-conceptual, and I don't know much about Zen practice, and I haven't done any koan practice with a teacher, and I have a feeling that I've heard of some people, they think up a really good answer, and they go to their teacher, and the teacher says no, and they think up a really intellectual answer, and they go and they say no, and they think up a really kind of physical answer like doing this, and they say no. Sorry, did I mention the koan? No, I probably didn't. So one koan is what's the sound of one hand clapping. So that's a very famous one. So maybe they go to their teacher, and do this, or they go to the teacher and try to think up an intellectual answer. And I think my answer is, and they get rejected, and then they go to the teacher and to present their answer, the koan, and they poke them in the eye, and the teacher says, yes, you've got it. So it's really absurd, and I'm not claiming that this is an answer to the koan of one hand clapping. But I think that in the same way that you can't see the back of your head, and it's not blackness, in the same way the sound of one hand clapping is in this way. It's not silence, because it's the koan. The question is, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Now, these koans are supposed to make you break your brain and think outside conceptual thought and realize a reality beyond conceptual thought. But when it's clapping, what's the sound of one hand clapping? So the sound could be silence, but there is clapping there. There's nothing for it to clap against. So I think this kind of sound could be the same as the absence of being able to see the back of your head. Now, that's my theory. So that's how we can conceive of this kind of absence of sound, this true absence that's not just silence. It's more like the sound of one hand clapping is the same as your vision of what's behind your sofa. It's not a black space without looking, of course. It's just not there. And I think this not there-ness fills a lot of our experience. And even more than that, the thing that is the purest form of that that is not here, that cannot be known, is the subject, is the eternal subject. So that's why I started the video talking about the eternal subject. So the eternal subject is the same thing. The eternal subject is the sound of one hand clapping. It's this thing that is not even nothing. It's beyond nothing. It cannot be conceived of in the same way that the vision of the back of your head cannot be conceived of. And when we think about, maybe according to talking about Alan Watts, he said, well, when you die, it's like that. It's just nothing, nothing, nothing. And you may wake up again. I think meaning that you might die and then suddenly be aware again, because if it happened once, why would it not happen again? Now, a part of this exploration into non-duality, in the very beginning, we have to look at the idea that there is consciousness is constant. It doesn't stop at any point. First, in our normal understanding, we think that the brain switches on and off consciousness. So when we go to sleep, we have some dreams, and then it switches off consciousness. Now, with the Advaita Vedanta, with the non-dualism, the approaches of traditional Advaita Vedanta and Rupert Spira, is that during deep sleep, there's not an absence of awareness, but an awareness of absence. And I was very happy with that. I imagine that when we go fall asleep, there's a period where we are still aware, but there's nothing there to be aware of. And so therefore the time is we don't notice any change in time, but we do feel that we slept well. In fact, we feel that is the best part of sleep. If you have all these dreams and you don't have any deep sleep, you don't feel good. If you have just pure deep sleep, you feel fantastic and you think, wow, I slept well, and you feel completely rejuvenated. In fact, that could be the best part of your day, this really deep sleep that refreshes you. And if we apply this same thing to death, we might imagine that is the most wonderful thing. I don't want to say this too much. I might encourage people to look for it. But I think it's here in the subject, in what there is here, what we really are, is this thing, this deep sleep. They talk about this Ramana Maharshi talks about this, that you have the waking, the dreaming, and then the deep sleep, he says, is the same as the true self. Other people say it isn't, but anyway. So this idea of this comforting, really good, best feeling of returning to the self that we go into in deep sleep could be the same as we go into in death. Now, the pure unknown is now that unknown, that vision of the back of your head, or and when I say vision, I'm talking about the vision of the back of the head here, not like getting a mirror or something. That or what you see, or what's behind your sofa, that unknowing is the same as the sound of one hand clapping. So the emptiness that is in the not being able to see the back of your head is exactly the same emptiness, the same unknowing as the sound of one hand clapping. And I imagine there are similar, if I could think a bit longer about it, would be about smell, taste and touch, and etc. There's a way that we can see these in the same way. Now, this unknowing, this emptiness, which is beyond conceptual emptiness, is what we are, is what the eternal subject is, because this is the thing that is never known. Now, this is identical to the sound of one hand clapping, because the same nothing is the same everywhere. And so you are the sound of one hand clapping. That could be my answer to the koan. Now, another interesting thing is, so if the subjective experience in me is this, then the subjective experience in you and everyone else is the same, because there's no difference between the nothing of one thing or the nothing of another thing. It's there's only one absence. There's no way that an absence can be any different from each other. You could say, yes, okay, so you're waiting for somebody in a restaurant and they don't arrive, and then you feel their absence, and that's a very palpable feeling of them not being there. And you go to the bank and you see you've got no money, and that absence is a different feeling to the absence of your friend not arriving. But we're not talking about that absence of things that are there. We're talking about this this non-conceptual absence, the thing that you can't even conceive of, that you can meditate on, as I was doing yesterday, and you can get this insight into what is really here. There's a very small proportion of what we are, that is what is here with us, that's here, is known to us, and the rest is unknown to us. And the unknown is infinite. The unknown is more infinite than anything that's known. Of all the matter, if we go back to materialism, if all the matter in the universe, how great it is, it's infinitely smaller than just that which isn't. So, to bring it all together, I'd just like to say that the conclusion of this is to try to clarify what this eternal subject is. I don't know, maybe in a few years, my students might watch this video, but I'm sure that English will be good enough. But that's what this eternal subject is. It's not even something that is known or unknown. It is that which knows and cannot be conceived of in the same way that we can't conceive of the back of our head. What's beyond this line here? All I see is I see here, and then I see here, and they don't touch. There is a very vast quantity that is not visible. But it's also not in space. I have a conceptual framework in my brain that I imagine there's this spatial structure that's behind me. There's these things here, but in my vision, it's here, and then there's an absence. But it's not even an absence. It's this not. It's the sound of one hand clapping. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that video. Thanks for watching. Bye.